Hello guys, so today I'll be doing a prop farm tier list where I'll be ranking almost any prop farm you've seen on Prop Farm Match or what are considered the most popular farms at the moment, and I'll be ranking all of them from 1 to 4. So I've done a video before about my top 5 prop farms, but I think in this video my view was very limited because I was only focusing on 5 farms alone and I was ranking them from 1 to 5. But you see, here I have a list of very many prop farms, and I'm ranking these farms based on different things. I'm looking at the number of years they've existed, their Trustpilot rating, their trading conditions, that is their spreads, slippages, etc. How much in payouts have they done? I'm also looking at the practicality of their challenge rules. Some farms have rules which are quite unfriendly. But just to give a spoiler, farms at number 1 and 2 will be my first priority. That means if I want to buy a prop farm, the farms which fall under category 1 and 2 are the farms which I'll buy any day. And the farms at number 3, based on what again I'll explain in this video, are farms which I'd still buy, but at the moment I can just say, they maybe need some more time to prove themselves, but still we have many traders who are using them and they're still getting payouts consistently. It's just that maybe they have been operating for 1 year or something and they just need to have more time for them to prove their case. The number 4, which is last priority, are farms which I would not prioritize at all. These are farms which will be my last option. That means if I'm planning to get funded across all these farms, I'll start with farms at number 1 and 2. Then once I'm max allocated at 1 and 2, I'll consider the farms at number 3. Once I'm done with 3, these 4 would be the last option. And there's a high chance most of them I might never even try them until they're able to prove themselves more. Part of me breaking down the info and stats of these companies, I'll be using Prop Farm Match. The good thing with Prop Farm Match is you find a list of companies, the top farms that are existing out there, and you can do a very quick scan to see how many years the company has been existing, what platform they offer, is it MT5, is it CTrader, what is the max allocation you can get to that company. They even have discounts of the companies. You can go further even to click on the farm here and you'll find more details. Like you see, this company has only been 3 years in operation. You can see the date it was created, their Trustpilot rating as well, which is here, and also their Prop Farm Match rating. If you want to understand the rules, you can also scroll here quickly and see what is the instruments that the company allows you to trade, what are the leverages, is there any consistency rule in the company, and the overall rules, whether they allow copy trading, whether you can trade during news, all those things. So Prop Farm Match is that one place where you come to find the top farms, compare, make your decision, and you also get the best offer. Whether it's a discount before you buy your prop farm. I do have their links in the video description. So let's get started with our ranking. I'll start with the top farms. Without a doubt, we have FTMO, which falls under the first category. This company has been existing for 10 years. They have a 4.8 star rating on Trustpilot and a 4.7 on Prop Farm Match. Last year, they profited about $80 million. So a company that is making a profit of $80 million is one that you can be sure will not have an issue paying you out as the trader. And again, for the 10 years, they've had a very clean track record. 4.8 star is literally almost 5 star. Within a 10-year operation period, that's a record that speaks for itself. You'll hardly find any drama with FTMO. As long as you respect their rules, you'll get paid out. The next company under the first category is the 5%ers. The 5ers have been operating for a 9-year period. Very, very close competitor to FTMO. And again, for a 9-year period, they have a 4.9 star rating on Trustpilot. And according to Prop Farm Match, they have the most favorites, meaning most traders have identified the 5ers to be their most favorite farm. They have one of the best trading conditions. One of those companies, again, which has less drama, less complaints. All you need to do is follow the rules and you can be sure you'll get paid by this company. The next firm is Funded Next, and this falls under the second category. Just to clarify, in my opinion, the second category is as good as the first. In fact, all firms in category 1 and 2 are the kind of companies I'd buy any day without thinking twice. And keep in mind, I'm only analyzing this based on the current track record. In future, as I always say, things might change. We've seen companies doing well, today, and then we've seen the next 1 or 2 years they have issues. But at the time of this recording, this is a company which I consider as good as all these companies in category 1, and I'd buy them without thinking twice. I still believe in Funded Next. As long as you follow the rules, you'll get paid out. You won't find yourself having issues. And again, I've been trading with them for over a year. You guys have seen that. The reason they fall in the second category is just for a simple reason. They've only been operating for a 3-year period. Now, I think 3 years is quite a good amount of time in the prop farm space. But again, if you've been here long enough, we've seen companies that are of this size still still having issues even in their third year. So for me, Funded Next can be in existence for the next around 2 to 3 years, still with the same track record. By there, they've done about $46 million in their total payouts. In fact, right now in terms of payouts in the whole prop firms globally, Funded Next is probably the third or the fourth company. Last month alone, they did about $5 million in payouts. A company that can pay $5 million in payouts within a 30-day period is a company which clearly is doing very well. That's why I'm telling you, I would rank this company the same as these ones. So it's only because they've been operating for 3 years that I think they need some more time just to prove themselves more. But if I'm buying a prop firm challenge, I would not think twice. Under the second category, the next firm I'd look at is Funding Pips. Funding Pips has an all-time record payout of about $88 million. That is a lot within only a 2-year period in operation. Let's say they're about 3 years, but even if it's 3 years, $88 million is a lot. Now, the reason Funding Pips is in my second category, even with all those payouts, again, sometime early last year when we had the whole MT5 issue where MetaQuotes was revoking licenses of most prop firms, Funding Pips had a lot of issues in that time. I saw many traders complaining, and they had, I think, about 4 to 5 month period where it was very scary, and it almost seemed like this company was going to collapse, with the likes of Funded Engineer, and you see, like, Funded Engineer ended up collapsing. And at that point in time, I was very skeptical about taking a challenge with Funding Pips, but luckily they managed to handle that situation very well, which is a very nice sign for a prop firm, because all these challenges might always come, but how the firm tackles the challenges and moves forward past it will either be a red flag or a green flag. And I think for me, that's a green flag, how they were able to maneuver with the MT5 issue. Traders were complaining everywhere on X, but they were able to sort out, I think, all their issues, and they still paid out their traders. And as we speak, they've stabilized for a couple of months now. They're among the top 2 firms on a monthly basis that have among the highest payouts. So in my opinion, again, I think this is a company which is very liquid. I saw recently they've got back MT5 as one of their trading platforms, which is here. If they can survive for the next 3 years with the same track record, and same thing to Funded Next, I think this company would come to number 1. Next firm, which is under my second category, is E8. I think I've talked about this before. It's a firm which has also proven to be doing very well. Close to $2 million in payout for the last month alone, which is also a lot. Again, they're in number 2 because they've been operating for only a 3-year period. Same thing. They can survive for the next 2 to 3 years, again, maintaining the same track record. I think all the firms in number 2 would come to number 1. But for now, they still need to stand the test of time. Also, E8 is not available in every country. Like my country, Kenya, is not allowed to trade with E8. It's something I discovered early this year. I tried to contact their support. I think they told me there are many reasons as to why they don't operate in some countries. It's not just always about regulation. It could be something to do with the payout methods, the payment methods. Maybe they're not supported in those countries. But again, you see, if every other prop firm here is supported in my country and they have access to all the payment methods, I don't see how E8 with their capacity lack access to the same payment methods. If at all, that is one of the reasons as to why they can't operate in our region. So it's a nice firm, but again, I'd put it at number 2. So if you're thinking of getting marks allocated in multiple firms, these are the companies I'd be looking out for at the moment. Moving to number 3, these are companies which, they just seem okay. Most of them have also been operating for a very short period of time. They're companies which once in a while I see multiple complaints, maybe on X or Trustpilot. But again, if you look at some of them closely, they've been proving to pay out traders consistently month after month. So there are companies which I also believe once some marks allocated with number 1 and 2, I would consider them because they don't necessarily have very big issues. It's just that some of them might be a little bit shaky because of 1 or 2 things, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they are still paying out traders month after month. They just wouldn't be my first priority. So category number 3, I'd go for Seacrest Funded. Seacrest Funded is formerly known as MyFundedFX. Now, at some point, they also had a lot of issues and complaints, and they had to even rebrand from MyFundedFX to Seacrest Funded. Regardless, even before the rebranding, they had done a lot of payouts, and they've still been doing a lot of payouts this year. Their all-time payout is at about $25 million. I think last month they did close to $1 million in payouts as well. So it's one of those companies, again, which by last year I was believing in this company a lot before all those complaints started. But again, they've been able to maneuver quite well. So far, it's looking good. I think if they can survive for the next 2 years with the same track record as well, they'd be able to move from 3 and back to number 2 because they were a very good firm, in my opinion, by early last year. But for now, just because of those many issues, they still need to prove themselves a little bit more. And before I forget, in category number 2, we do have this Breakout, which I forgot to mention. Now, Breakout is purely a crypto firm, but it still falls under number 2 because if you wanted to buy a crypto crypto prop firm right now. I think it's probably top of the list. It's only been operating for about 1.5 years, but it has a 4.9 star Trustpilot rating. So if you're the type who wants to trade specifically on the crypto market using prop firms, I think Breakout is probably the best firm right now. So back to our third list, Tech4 Traders as my next company. It's been in existence for about a year as well, almost hitting 2 years, I think, in a couple of months. They rated a 4.9 star on prop firm Match, and it's one of those firms which honestly I've not seen a lot of issues with them. It's just that they need to be here probably for more time and also grow their numbers as well. But so far it looks like a nice firm, especially their two-step challenge. I know a friend who trades with them, and he's told me that he's had no issues. As long as you trade well, you'll also get paid out. So for me, it's one of those firms that just seems okay, Next firm here would be Blueberry Funded. Now, this is a company I've been looking at. It's one of those broker-backed prop firms which started sometime last year. I've been considering a lot to, take a challenge with them sometime, just because I also want to test out the broker-backed firms. And, we've had many of them coming up. But out of all the broker-backed firms, I think I've liked their challenges because it's a prop firm that was created by Blueberry Broker. And Blueberry Broker has been existing, I think, for almost a decade as well. So they started last year in August 2024. But so far, they've not had any issues. I think if you trade well with them as well, you'll get payout. Do have Funding Traders. It also existed for, I think, close to 2 years. It's a very silent firm, but it's been doing payouts consistently. So I'd put them at number 3 as well. We have this Quantakel, which was formerly known as Ascend X, something like that. They also did a rebranding, but I've seen a couple of traders online, marks allocated with them doing payouts on big accounts. So I think it's a company which just seems okay at the moment. We also have Blue Guardian, which has existed for a number of years. I just think for the years it's existed, it's not been that competitive as compared to other firms, because Blue Guardian has been operating for about 3 years. It started the same time with the likes of Funded Next and Funding Pips. But if you compare the rate at which these companies have grown, even just their popularity, the payouts they do, you'd see a big difference as compared to Blue Guardian. So I think for now it just seems okay, it's just somewhere there, but definitely it would not fall under the first two categories. Then we have this company called Maven. I've seen a lot of traders talking about it. Maven has also been there for some time. It was known at some point for having very cheap challenges, but again, I think for the number of years they've operated, they've done very little to, be in the second category. They still don't even have MT5 as one of their platforms. And I just think if you look at all the firms in category 1 and 2, they have all those things. They have been doing payouts consistently. They have been here for a couple of years. Their customer support is very fast. You won't have an issue with them. All of them have the best trading platforms, including MT5. So you see, if you start to look at all those details, definitely you can't compare this company to these ones within category 1 and 2. I've also been seeing a lot of complaints on Trustpilot about their spreads and slippages. Mostly their spreads, there's a lot of complaints of traders saying their spreads are very bad because they change their liquidity provider. So again, that's a company that will just have to come third in this list. Then we do have Funded Trading Plus. This is a company that also has some nice reviews online. Traders are getting paid consistently. But again, I can't see anything special about it for it to fall under the first two categories. Then we have Audacity Capital. It's a prop firm which has existed for almost 10 years. Very few traders know about it, but it's been in existence for 13 years from 2012. But if you look at Audacity Capital, it's not that popular even though it's been here for a long time, which means it's not done a very good job in maybe adapting to the current or to the modern prop firm space. But they still have, MT5, they have normal rules, they do have a consistency rule because I've checked their website at some point. So it's one of those firms again, which, after I'm funded with all these companies, I would probably look at them. But as you can see, I've placed them in category number 3 among the last companies, because even if I'm to get funded with these companies at number 3, I'd probably start with companies like, the first 3 here first before I start considering a company like Audacity Capital. But there are also traders who've been using it for a long time and they're getting paid out. 13 years is a long time to be operating. But again, you see at the same time, if you've been operating for 13 years, we'd expect you to have done at least a lot of payouts like these companies which have done $80 million, $50 million. But for them, I think many traders have not adapted to their evaluation models. So even though they've been existing for a lot of years, I just think they're not competitive enough as compared to companies in number 1 and 2. My last company on number 3 would be Instant Funding. It's a company I've also been looking at. I think they've done about $5 million payouts in about a 1 year period or 1.5 year period, which is also very great. Very less complaints. I've seen traders trading with them and getting paid out. So it's one of those companies as well which you can still make some money with them and get paid out without having to worry. I'd only say they fall here because they need more time, more years to prove themselves, and more years for them to try to be as competitive as possible so that they can also grow their numbers as well and maybe increase their payout, something like that. But I've not heard negative things about this company. Now we move to the fourth, which is the last priority. Clearly, all the firms which are left will be falling under my last priority, and I'll be explaining to you why. Now, firms in the last priority are firms which maybe I've done due diligence and in my own opinion I've not been impressed at all. I just have so many red flags I've seen with the companies. Some of them I've had a bad experience with them, like Alpha Capital, which you know. Some of them I've seen multiple complaints on X or everywhere on the internet. Until they're just very suspicious, you almost can't even ignore the number of complaints out there. So some firms here, I've not traded with them, I have no experience, but you almost can't ignore all those multiple complaints on X, on Trustpilot that you come across on a daily basis. Especially when people are sending proof of how maybe their accounts were terminated wrongly or just multiple issues here and there. So these are companies which, yes, some traders are still getting paid out with them, can't deny that. But in my own opinion, this would be my last priority. Like, before I think of buying a prop firm, I'd rather get exhausted with number 1 to 3 before I can even start looking at any of these companies. The first one is Alpha Capital. Very bad experience. I got a ban with them last year, a wrongful accusation of something I didn't do. Wanted to prove my case, but they didn't want to listen. So when I've had a bad experience with a company, there's no way I'm going to rank it among the top. Do we have traders getting paid out with this company? Of course we do, but that was my experience. One of my friends, Ken from Financial Hub, has been trading with Alpha Capital, I think last year as well, and he was getting payouts consistently. So it's not that the company can't pay out. It's just that I think they're not deserving to fall under the first 3 after some traders like myself who were banned wrongfully. The next company here would be Got Funded. I've had multiple complaints on social media about this company. I'm not saying it's a bad company, but I'm just saying I would not think of buying a challenge with them right now, as long as I'm not funded within top 3. Then we do have Lack Funding. It's been there for a while, but very slow. I think it's not adapted to the prop firm space quite well. It's one of those companies which, even if I want to buy a challenge with them, I just don't trust them that much. Like, tell me why I'd be buying a challenge with Lack Funding while all these companies exist. We do have Pip Farm. It's a company that had a lot of complaints last year on X. It's not as popular except for the issues that I've seen traders raising with them. So I don't see how I'd trust myself buying a challenge with this company. Then we have Phenotype Funding. You know, it has a very low rating on Trustpilot of 4, but this is not the only issue. It's been operating for 4 years, but even on Prop Firm March, it has a 3.6 star rating, which is quite low. So it's one of those companies, again, which I believe some traders are getting paid out with them, but I would not prioritize my money on getting a challenge with this company for now. We do have this company here, Aqua Funded. It also has a very low Trustpilot rating of a 3.5 star. I mean, you have to give the Trustpilot rating enough consideration as well whenever you are trying to, judge a prop firm. 3.5 star is very low, even though it's only been operating for about 1 year, close to 2 years. Also, you can see they have very big discounts. I mean, nothing wrong with the discount, but whenever you see a company doing 30%, 40% discount, it looks very cheap, but you see there's a reason why many traders are complaining. And maybe that's why they put large discounts sometimes so that you can think it's cheap, but then it's not worth it if it has a 3.5 star rating on Trustpilot. Next company is Effexify. Same thing, a lot of issues, a lot of complaints. I just have a gut feeling that this is a company, if I buy the challenge, every day I'd be skeptical and I'd be questioning whether I'll get my payout or not. So it's not a company I would prioritize based on the complaints I've seen on the internet. Then we have this company called CT Traders Imperium. It's a company which has existed for about 6 years. For a 6-year period, and then you compare to these companies which have been existing for only 2-3 years, and you see a very huge difference in terms of the numbers they are doing, their credibility, the complaints, their rating. So this is a company which, yes, has been there for 6 years, but I think I'd even rather trust more companies here in number 3 as compared to this one for now. And finally, we do have Bright Funded. It's one of those companies which has only been in operation for almost a year alone. So again, it still needs more time to prove itself. I've seen a number of complaints as well. It has a solid Trustpilot rating, but again, in my own opinion, it's one of those companies which, if I was to buy, I just don't have that confidence. So that's it for my prop firm tier list of 2025. Keep in mind, this is just my opinion. I'd still recommend you guys to do a lot of due diligence when buying these companies. You need to understand why you're buying the challenge and why you're not trusting a certain company. Propform Match will do a very good job to assist you find more than enough detailed information of all these companies before making your decision. Also, feel free to share your thoughts and opinions. Of course, I don't expect us to have the same rating of each company. We might agree and disagree on some things. That's why I said this is my personal opinion. So if I want to get marks allocated right now, my focus would be on number 1 and 2. Number 1 and 2 are a no-brainer for me based on the current stats. Once I'm marks allocated on number 1 and 2, I'd now head on to number 3. Number 4 is one of those companies which I think they are in my last priority, to the point that even if I'm funded across 1, 2, and 3 and I have no other prop firms, I really think twice before buying a challenge with these companies. Because I think that those companies which I might just waste my time. I buy my challenge, I take 2-3 months, I pass, then I get denied a payout, and I become one of those guys on X who's ranting and complaining. So I don't see myself buying a challenge with these companies anytime soon. But it's important to also acknowledge that over time, some of these companies might prove themselves more and increase their ranking. We might see some of these companies going to the first. Same thing here, we might see some of these moving to the second. And don't be shocked to also see the top companies coming downwards. The same way Seacrest funded, which was my funded FX last year, I would have ranked it somewhere in number 2. Very early last year. But you see right now it's come all the way to number 3 because it had so many issues. So be sure to check out Propform Match if you want to purchase your challenge. Anytime you purchase a prop firm with their website, you'll get the coupon code for the discount. Most importantly, you will get awarded something called loyalty points. And how their loyalty point program works is simple. Every time you purchase a certain account size, you get points awarded to you. Now, as you gather up these points, a time comes where you can redeem all of them in exchange for a free prop firm challenge. So let's say if you've gathered up 4,000 loyalty points, you can be able to exchange that for a 10K challenge. So instead of just buying your prop firm challenges like that and burning your money, you'd rather be buying them using Propform Match, so that eventually at some point you can be able to redeem the points and get a free account size. So otherwise, that's it for this video, guys. Until next time, peace out.